Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to a video about books by male authors. Yes, you saw that right. The best dudes, the best books by male authors that I read between January and June. As you know, this channel is dedicated to promoting books by female authors because, like maybe also many of you, when I was younger, I read two-thirds at least of what I read was by male authors. The whole canon is always very male dominated. And I didn't even realize that because I'm stupid until much later in my reading life. And I decided to kind of switch the scale and give women more of a chance, the chance that they deserve. And now my reading consists of two-thirds at least of books by female authors. And this channel is dedicated to those books. But at least once a year, I make a video, Best Dudes, because I still do read books by male authors, just not as many. It's about 10, 15% maybe, maybe 20 in some months. But I decided to make the first of those videos now for the first half of the year so that I can talk a little bit more about the books by male authors that I really liked. That whole explanation didn't really interest you, I know. But anyway, there are 5 books that I want to talk about, all by male authors, 3 nonfiction, 2 fiction, and all of them I thought were really, really good, in no particular order. So it's not a 5th place, 1st place, in no particular order. The first book is a nonfiction book by Robert A. Caro, Working, published in 2019. You probably know him. That's the author here on the cover. He was born in the 1930s, I think 1935, and he's most famous for his huge books about political figures. He has now published 4 volumes of the Lyndon, President Lyndon biography. The 5th is in the works. He is also famous for working, has been working since 1970, so for 50-something years, with another huge figure in American literature, and that is Robert Gottlieb, editor-in-chief, publisher at Knopf, who died, I think 2 years ago. He's a little bit older than Caro, and they worked since the first book, The Power Broker, about another Robert, who was a huge figure, Robert Moses, and that book was published, I think, in 1974, The Power Broker. And after that, Caro has been working on the Lyndon years biography. So the 5th volume is in the works. Hopefully will be published at some point. Caro already said it will be published, even if it's not finished. When I die, it will be published. So, I mean, it's not that he has to die to publish it, but in case he doesn't finish, because he takes quite a while to write those books. The Power Broker took him 7 or 8 years to write about Robert Moses, New York developer who really changed the face of that city. But anyway, this is considerably smaller book about his way of working. And I'm also write, not these huge nonfiction books, but I always love to read about the writing process of other writers. And I think his process is so fascinating. There's also a movie, a documentary made by Robert Gottlieb's daughter, Lizzie Gottlieb, Turn Every Page. So if you have a chance to watch that, it's really, really good and entertaining about these 2 big men of American literature. So I really liked this. I loved it, but it's something, if you don't find it interesting to read about people writing and how they do it, and then this book won't appeal to you. But if you do, And then also watch the documentary because it's really good. The next one I don't have here, so I will leave a picture up here, is a fiction book. And I also forget the day of the publication, 2023, Stephen Markley, The Deluge, or The Deluge, I don't know. I think British English has another emphasis, but Deluge, which is sci-fi. I read this on Everett, I think, and I'm meaning to buy it because I want to have it on my bookshelf and maybe reread it. It's 800 plus pages, and not the type of book that I would normally like. I read it because Heidi from my reading life recommended it to me. She really loved it. And our taste is quite similar. So this is a sci-fi book with a huge cast of characters, 800 plus pages, starting in 2013. And the main topic is the climate change and what happens when, I mean, we are in the middle of it now, but we can still survive, kind of, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. So it starts in 2013, and then you have this cast of characters, scientists, environmentalists, activists, religious leaders, marketing person, politicians, and they all are kind of connected in ways. And then the book spans multiple decades. So it starts 2013 and goes way into the future. It's also contains memos written by some of these people, or newspaper news articles, tweets, this typical kind of newish thing where you have this type of documents incorporated into the novel. Also not something that I'm normally extremely enthusiastic about, but it works here. And I felt this was a really brilliant book, talking about something that affects us all and will affect us all, certainly the coming generations. It's never dull, even though it's huge. So I really, really enjoyed this book by Stephen Markley. Have never read anything by this American author, by the way. So I know that he has written more books. Ohio, I think, is another title. But I never gotten around to checking out his other books. But this one was definitely a winner. Okay, then I have another non-fiction book by London-based Indian author Pankaj Mishra, The World After Gaza, which was published earlier this year. And it is what it says on the tin. It's his reflections on what happens and why we let it happen and why certain human beings are worth more than others. He draws this huge arc from the Holocaust committed by the Germans against the Jews, and what happening, the Holocaust or the genocide that is happening in Gaza. So he is, you probably have read maybe some of his books, the Age of Anger, From the Ruins of Empire. He writes political books, but he's not a journalist. He is I don't want to say historian, but he has more a philosophical approach. So if you don't like books where sometimes a name like Plato or Kant pops up, this is not for you. I mean, it's not a philosophical treatise, by no means, but he is, compared to another book also about the same topic I will talk about in a little while, this is much more the author is much more removed, looking down on what is happening and trying to find an explanation, an analysis, but more of a, like I said, from a removed point of view. I thought this was really interesting, a lot of food for thought, the way he inquires about this topic and the value of human life and how politics work and how or don't work. I thought it was really, really good. And the other book that deals about the same topic, but is a much more personal account, a personal struggle, is of course One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El-Akkad, also published earlier this year. It's a smaller book, and Omar Al-Akkad was born in Egypt, and then most of his youth he spent in Qatar, and then he moved with his parents and sibling to Canada, immigrated to Canada, and he now lives in the US, and he is became a US citizen a couple of years ago. And he much more, even though, like I said, it's about the same topic, it's about what the genocide happening in Gaza and why we in the West are not capable of stopping it. But this one is a much more personal account, his grappling with this topic from his youth, where he was an admirer of the West. He wanted to have the life that he saw people in the West had. He didn't want to live in Qatar or Egypt. He didn't want to experience censorship. So once he moved to Canada when he was in his teens, he went to high school, university, and he became a journalist. And he covered a wide range of topics, and but often focusing on things that we didn't quite do a good job. So he went to Guantanamo Bay. He looked at the system there. He was investigating all types of political issues connected to this type of situation. So he also went to Afghanistan, Iraq, and he grappled with the fact, how can we as the West, he considers himself now part of the West, how can we say that we promote human rights but do the worst human rights violation you can possibly think of? Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo Bay. How can we do that? And he, for a long time, he said he was able to kind of compartmentalize and say, well, yeah, but that's an exception, But when the genocide started in Gaza after the 7th of October 2 years ago, he said he couldn't do that anymore. This was kind of a breaking point for him. He one of the examples he gives, what you oftentimes hear, for instance, with the U.S. elections a while back last year, November, not that long ago, by the way, when you had Kamala Harris versus Trump, and a lot of people I know would vote for Kamala Harris, even though she was not doing anything against the genocide. On the contrary, Biden didn't do anything, but it's like the lesser of two evils. And he explains very well, I think, and analyzes why this doesn't work for him anymore, why there is a moral threshold, and genocide is a moral threshold, why, and when you cross that, he at least is not able to say, well, I'm just voting for that or that party. I mean, it's the same here in Germany, because it's the lesser of two evils. So I find this, the combination of these two books really illuminating for me, also because I can relate to this struggle as a human rights lawyer, or a retired human rights lawyer. I just teach now ethics, by the way, for lawyers, but okay. I can definitely relate to this, also because I had similar conversations or discussions with a lot of my friends or people that I know. So, like I said, this is a personal journey, but it's not a memoir. He is also analyzing very, very intelligently what is going on, but the relation with his personal life and with his personal grappling with what happens is a part of the book, whereas this is more I don't want to say objective, but a more, a clean way of looking at the situation as a researcher. So, but both books were definitely in my top of the first half of the year. And the last one, and a lot of you will now end the video right now, because it's a German book and it hasn't been translated yet. I hope that it will be translated. It was also published this year, so it's maybe a little early, and it's huge. And it's Christoph Hein, Das Narrenschiff. Christoph Hein is obviously a German author. And I read a couple of books by him, also non-fiction. This is a novel, The Ship of Fools, it means. This book is about, it's a biography in a way of the DDR, the East German Republic, from the beginning after the Second World War until its end in 1989, when the two Germans were unified again after the fall of the wall. So he takes also, like Stephen Markley, quite a big chunk of characters, people who were involved in the when the DDR was founded after the Second World War. There are invented characters. Most of the cast is invented, but you also have real life people, like the politicians, Ulbricht, Honecker, people that Stalin, Khrushchev played a role. And with these characters, you have the reluctant, he was actually born in Leipzig anyway. You have this reluctant kind of communist or socialist. You have the opportunist who was during the 30s was in favor of the Nazis, and then ended up in the eastern part of Germany becoming a communist. So you have a variety of people, and the biography of this country is shown through the lens of the life of those people. And I thought it was really interesting, certainly for German reader, making this country come to life in one book, reminding me of events that I had forgotten. So I definitely enjoyed it a lot, and I hope that at some point it will be picked up and bought by an English language publisher. Anyway, 19 minutes already. These are my top dudes of the first half of the year. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Looking forward to your comments. I'm not sure there will be a video next week because it's my birthday week and I'm traveling, so I might not be able to film on Sunday. But I will see you all soon in the next one, either next Sunday or the Sunday after.